I'm Benjamin Aaron from Love & Soap Studio and Love & Soap Project, and I'm here to explain why the men's grooming industry has taken off like it has. So classically, men's grooming products, the traditional ones that have been around for decades and decades and decades, are ones that everyone's already seen. So deodorants, shaving creams, shave butters, aftershaves, colognes, those kind of things. But what's interesting about today's market in the seemingly micro industry that is men's grooming products is now we're taking on a lot more products, like men are now using cuticle balms and cuticle oils and bronzers and concealers. So there's a reason why that is, and we have to tackle why that is from a bigger perspective in order to understand the market and then advertising and promote in a better way for your company. So as the handcrafted industry, as the cottage industry that we are in, what's the most important takeaway from understanding why the men's grooming product has become such a boom is large social and civic movements. So here's why this thing has gotten so big so quickly. And here's how we need to understand it so we can better our situation and how we sell to men. So in one word, the best way I can explain why the men's grooming industry has taken off is actually women. So allow me to explain what happens, and it never fails, in every single industry that we've ever had in the world of capitalism. Businesses always follow suit with large social and civic movements. So if something happens in America or even internationally, some kind of movement, something's triggered, 9 times out of 10, that always kind of funnels down into our wallets. So businesses follow suit with what happens on larger social and civic scales. The last year and previous years, stepping up to this last year, but especially in this last 12 months, the need for more gender equity is becoming more and more prominent in everyday life. So I'm sure most of you have heard about the Me Too movement, for example. The Me Too movement really has taken off in the last year. Now, the Me Too movement has been around for a long time, but it really took off in the last year, largely thanks to celebrity. But what that does, that's the large social and civic movement I'm talking about. And what that does is that has this strange trickle-down effect, funnels into our industry, believe it or not, and other industries as well. I mean, we see it all the time. And what that does though, so the reason why it's happening in men's grooming is, by and large, the Me Too movement, as an example of the gender equity movement overall, that creates more empathy for men. Now, we have a long way to go, but men now empathize more with women than ever before. And as that social civic movement, that empathy trickles down from these large topics all the way down into our everyday life, our household life, and eventually, yes, our pocketbooks. So imagine then if, since we have more empathy, we can empathize more, we as men can empathize more with women, we kind of take on some of the characteristics on not so much the large social and civic issues, but the kind of the day-to-day things. So we start to understand more what women go through, what women need, and we start to take on those same characteristics. So as an example, JWT, this huge media corporation that kind of caters towards media groups for men, they do a lot of market research and things. They do this, every year they do this State of Men survey. And the last State of Men survey suggests that 88%, so 9 out of 10 men, think that it is just as important for them, for men, to be well-groomed, well-dressed, and have a nice body as it is for women. Now that is a remarkable uptick in just 1 year, because I think the year before it was only like 68%. So we went from 68 to 88%. So 9 out of 10 men now feel that because of their own rising insecurities about how they look, they feel like they have just as much need to take care of themselves like women have always have. And the issue behind that is the rising insecurities that men have in order is to make them want to be well groomed and such. Women have felt that societal pressure for decades. But now, because of the empathy, men are starting to take that on and say, okay, I get it. I want to be well groomed, I want to be well dressed, I want to do all those things as well. So not only is there an uptick in the overall revenue for the industry, the sales mix variance also dramatically increases. So like I said, men are now using bronzers and concealers and mud masks and things like that. I've been in this industry for 10 years and I never would have thought that men would be using those kind of products. And they wouldn't if it hadn't been for these large social and civic movements that have taken place. So that's kind of the why. So now we have to talk about how. So the why is masculinity is being redefined, okay? So we can't be advertised to like we're a bunch of Neanderthals anymore, especially with premium products. And if you're in the handcrafted industry, you're selling premium products. Premium means higher priced. It means, you can call it luxury, you can call it whatever you want, but these are higher end products. So that comes with some responsibility when it comes to advertising and promotion. So like the old Hardee's Carl Jr.'s commercial where Paris Hilton's eating a cheeseburger on a motorcycle in a bikini, that can't work anymore. Again, masculinity is being redefined. Last year during Father's Day, right up until Father's Day, Dove's Men Care came out with this incredible new promotion to promote Father's Day, but they did hashtag real dads, hashtag real strength. So what they did was they promoted it through asking fathers to take pictures, selfies and stuff of their kids, and then hashtag it with real strength, real dads, and then send it in to Men's Dove Care, and then Men's Dove Care would blast it out on their website and things like that. And it was this huge promotional thing. Like, they understood it and they got way ahead of the curve because, again, they understood that masculinity is being redefined and we can't be marketed to in the old ways. We can't be marketed to like the old Bud Light commercials or something like that. We're taking on kind of a new stance. And as masculinity is being redefined, we see, again, real strength, real dads, those kind of things, that's becoming manly now, as opposed to sort of the old way, the old breed of advertising to men. So believe it or not, we're actually much more complex than we may have led on up until this point in advertising and promotions. So the biggest takeaway, the biggest action step you can take as handcrafters is sort of refocusing your business concept if you want to really engage in men's products. And I highly encourage you too, if you even have the smallest inclination to engage in making and selling men's grooming stuff, it's highly advisable simply because of the profit margins. For example, beard oil is a big thing right now. A 1 ounce beard oil on the market right now sells for anywhere between $12 and $45 for 1 ounce little thing. Now, you and I know that no matter what ingredients you put in 1 ounces, it's not going to cost that much to make. So your margins are incredible. And that's just one example of many in men's grooming where the profit margins are exceptionally high, especially compared to, good old bar soap or something that you probably are already making right now. So if you have the inclination to make men's grooming stuff as a concept, keep in mind the most important part, and that is to differentiate what you might be doing now, whether it's female driven or not, and I'll get to that in a second, whether it's female driven or not, differentiate your men's grooming line from your current line if you don't think it will fit cohesively like a puzzle piece. So let me give you an example. If you have a female company, female driven concept, brand, like let's say your company's called Susie, Suds, and Bubbles and More, or something like that, that's perfectly fine, more power to you. But you can probably see the inauthenticity in doing that if you were to keep that logo, keep the company name, all that stuff, and then slap a beard oil label on something and expect it to sell really well. There's disingenuity there, there's inauthenticity there, it just doesn't work. So as a company that I had a soap and skincare company called Prairie Soap Company. And we catered to mainly women. And I very, very much wanted to start kind of a side hustle, a new concept as a business and make it a very men's driven company. What I didn't want to do is start a new company. I didn't want to start a new EIN number. I didn't want to get a new bank account. I didn't want to do all that. So what I did was I went to my bank, I went to the state, I went to all my filings and said, hey, I want to create a DBA, a fictitious name. What I came up with was called the Imperial Drifter. And so the Imperial Drifter was my new men's concept that was umbrellaed under my current company. So I could have my new labels, a new website, completely separate from my company, my main company. And everything was unique in and of its own self. So in other words, no one actually knew, unless they really did some homework, that the Imperial Drifter, my side hustle company, was actually just a subsidiary of my main company. So again, this is the biggest mistake I see in our industry, is when we try and jumble jam two different concepts into one thing. If you have a female-driven concept, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to bring in men's care, make it different. And the easiest way to do that is creating a fictitious name, doing a DBA, and then start from scratch. You know, you got to have a castle in the sky, so to speak, but you also have to build a foundation to that. The foundation to that is doing the necessary paperwork, creating a fictitious name, doing a DBA, and then really starting that brand from scratch. And then you can have a brand new concept, create really exotic skincare for men, and then really breach out into a new sort of customer base that you probably don't have at the current moment. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts, and I'm going to delve into this a little bit more on our podcast. It'll be more of a Q&A, so it'll be a little bit more of an impromptu episode on the ins and outs of getting into the men's grooming care success business.